Hi, it's time for another riveting conversation with the library ladies of Montgomery County Public Library. We're your hosts, Shannon and Brooke, and today we have chosen to read Fairest of All by Serena Valentino. It's the first in the series. I particularly like this one because it allows the reader to explore a different perspective of the tale of Snow White. It's through the eyes of the wicked queen. We delve into the backstory of how she became an infamous villain. Brooke, what was your favorite part of the book?
Well, I liked the imagery. It was really strong, and the celebratory occasions. There was a lot of reason for celebration, and the author just really knew how to describe it. For instance, she used mirrors a lot in the story, particularly at the Solstice Festival. However, that my very favorite thing, the imagery became overused after a time, so I feel like my favorite thing turned it into my least favorite thing. What was your least favorite thing about the book?
Well, for obvious reasons, the author was focused on the Wicked Queen. And so because of this, I feel like the supporting characters, or cast if you will, were very limited and underdeveloped.
Which characters did you like least?
Well, the first character that comes to mind that I liked less than the others was definitely the king, oddly enough. I felt like his duty to his kingdom took over his duty towards his family, that he was away more than he was with her, and so I wondered if he was truly in love with his queen or if he was simply looking for a mother for Snow White. What character was your least favorite?
Well, I found Snow White to be very one-dimensional. It worked in the beginning. She was a child, and the author just talked about the relationship with the queen and the things the queen said to her. But as she progressed and the queen became consumed by her own troubles, she wasn't paying attention to Snow White, and that was probably a writing device, but it also made Snow White seem very airheaded almost. For instance, the queen orders her to don rags and become one of the servants, and the book doesn't say anything about Snow White even questioning that. Also, she hits her head on the well while she's out scrubbing it, and when she wakes up, she just kind of immediately falls in love with the prince. So it does. She just comes across as very. She's a princess, so she will be innocent and sheltered, but also makes her seem like she's not very perceptive. If you got the chance to ask the author of this book one question, what would it be?
The book stays true to other versions of Snow White, so obviously she's done her research, and I would just like to know which retellings were her favorites.
What feelings did this book evoke for you?
Well, I've always loved fairy tales and retellings because, handsome princes and fancy tea parties and balls and all that fun stuff. But in reality, fairy tales weren't written for children, and so they're way less romantic than Disney alludes. What feelings did they evoke for you?
I was delightfully enchanted by the book, and I was surprised at how easily I could drop into the world of the fairy tale. It was just super easy.
How original or unique did you find this book?
I wouldn't say it was original at all. I mean, it has been the trend for quite some time to take fairy tales and give them a new slant. These books alone are all Snow White, and just the ones in our library. So if that gives you an idea of how many there are. What she does do that is original is she has three witches called the Odd Sisters that are weaved throughout the series, which I think there's 14 books in the series, and these Odd Sisters are in all of them. So they are the common characters. And each book visits a different fairy tale. But I would say that what is not original about the book, she compensates for with how well it's done. Which character in this book would you most like to meet?
I would most like to meet the Queen before her grief overtook her, because she was beautiful before, and it was with the help of the Odd Sisters and this grief that created the Queen that we all know and love. So, which characters would you like to meet?
Oh, I would want to meet the Odd Sisters for sure. Their characteristics are so cartoonish and quirky that I actually had a hard time picturing them in my mind. So to see them in person would be wonderful. It'd be very gratifying. What did you think of the title of the book?
I think it's appropriate. It is a paraphrase of the Brothers Grimm quote, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest one of all." What did you think of the cover art?
Well, I thought it was fantastic. It is done by Adrienne Brown and Carolyn Egan, and they did a close-up of the Queen's face, and inside is a close-up of her life. It looks like they've taken the shape of a serpent and used that, and they also kept in mind the Disney depiction that already exists in collective consciousness, which so people know what they're reading and what they're getting into. They kept her attractive and evil looking at the same time, and also her eyes are rather hypnotic and alluring, and alluding to how hypnotic the spell that is cast on the reader. If you could choose an artist to illustrate the whole book, who would it be?
Well, I looked at some artwork and some other retellings of Snow White, and I really like the artwork created by P.J. Lynch and Trina Sharp Hyman. I just really think it's beautiful and magical in its own way.
I chose Gustav Klimt, who is best known for the painting The Kiss. He uses a lot of gold and circular patterning, which I feel would lend really well to fairy tale royalty. I'd love to see like the King's Homecoming and the solstice ceremony, the Apple Festival, the picnics in the woods. They would all be positively sumptuous with this artist.
What do you think the author's purpose was in writing this book? What idea was she trying to get across?
Villains aren't born, they are made. And you?
Well, when I was thinking about how to respond to this question, I did a Google search, of course, librarian thing, and I found an interview featuring the author, Miss Valentino, and she said that during the writing of this book, Fairest of All, it came at a great time of mourning for her because her own sister had passed away, and that grief from losing her sister has an overwhelming influence throughout the entire series. So she was able to use her own sadness to convey the Queen's grief for losing her king, and I thought that was interesting.
That sense of grief totally comes through in the reading. I didn't know that, and I felt it as I was reading it, and it was a very deep grief, almost a bit much for the book it was in, but very good. So would you read another book by Serena Valentino?
Absolutely. I plan to read the rest of the series. You?
Yeah, I'd love to read them all. Like you said, I like how she tells the story from a different character's point of view.
Thank you for joining us for another riveting book chat. Until the next time, cheers.